Oh, they put that sign up. They say you're live. I take them at their word. This is Birds 365, a football Friday. We love football Fridays here on Birds 365. So the Mag and Mac guys, Jody McDonald, along with my partner, John McMullen, who's ready to get out there on the grass today.
Well, grass time, Jody.
Little grass time. Quality grass time. What time is that?
I don't know if it's quality. 11:30-ish.
Okay.
As soon as I get off the air here, I'm going to run down to the NovaCare complex, take in a little Nick Sirianni, get a fist bump, maybe a little Brandon Lee Gouton rock, paper, scissors match, and then we'll get some good grass time in.
You know you can actually make that happen. There's a specific look you can give Nick Sirianni, which says, "I want you in rock, paper, scissors."
No, I'm not. I'm not basing it. I'm going to tell you why, Jody.
Why?
I don't want to be the first guy to lose to this guy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to be the first guy. So when somebody else loses, then I'll jump in.
Okay, you're just not the first. Okay, yeah. I get it. Yesterday, you spent some quality time on Zoom with a couple of Eagle guys, and I do want to get into that. But first things first, I did something last night that I had never done before in my life. I will use the word iconic to describe the restaurant where I had dinner. Have you ever been to Jack's Firehouse?
Do not believe so. The name sounds familiar.
Right. It's over on Fairmount Avenue. It's been around forever. Yes, I will call it iconic. An iconic Philadelphia restaurant, which I'd heard of plenty. I just never attended. It's right across from the prison on Fairmount Avenue that they've turned into a Halloween attraction.
Oh, yeah. Eastern State Penitentiary.
Correct. Jack's Firehouse is right across the street, and it's a great restaurant. Been around forever. I never attended. That's where my daughter now lives. She lives in Fairmount. This was the first time that I ever, to take my daughter out for dinner, had to go pick her up at her house because she lived at home up until last year. So it's a little bit different celebration of my daughter's birthday than I ever had before, and went to Jack's Firehouse, we drove, which was ridiculous. We could have walked, but my wife said, "We're not walking 2.5 blocks. Okay, dear, whatever you say. So we did. We drove, and I paid $8. $8 to park for 2 hours. But great restaurant, great meal. The calamari last night was phenomenal, except they put some serious jalapenos in there, which I got to take out. Can you eat? You got an Iron Man stomach, buddy?
No, I would say I'm not by any stretch of the imagination sensitive, but I'm not one of those get the hottest hot sauce available guys that do that. So I got a comfortable in between there. I just pulled up the menu. They have a Jack's Firehouse burger. So I think Firehouse, although it's, that doesn't necessarily because it's named that, but I was looking for some spicy stuff, and you want spicy,
huh? The jalapenos in the calamari, I had one. And it was a mistake. I went through about 4 or 5 Diet Cokes, which I didn't really need to do. But it was so good last night. Outstanding. And the only reason why I felt the need to bring it up was because it's an iconic Philadelphia.
You're ripping me for the use of iconic. That tells you I probably watch too much pro wrestling. I will say, I am going to backtrack a little bit on that. So I'm going to give you a win. I'm a history guy. So I'm big into history, like in sports, but just in life in general. I tend to forget that other people are not, especially in this generation. So nobody from this generation remembers the USFL. But then I'll go one step. They don't know Julius Erving, as I was saying. So, and he's one of the most iconic, used correctly, athletes in this town. And a lot of people don't even know his history and I'll tell you a story real quick. I was doing another show on another platform. I have never gotten killed on the air more, Jody, for my take that Julius Erving was a better basketball player than Scottie Pippen. And I said, it's not close. It's not even in the conversation. And I got just destroyed by people in the Delaware Valley, because they've been indoctrinated to believe that Scottie Pippen belongs with the icons of this game. I've never gotten killed more on the air from when I said Julius Erving is in a different category, in a different league.
And it's funny, I'm going to land somewhere in the middle. I certainly think Scottie Pippen is a great all-time player. I also certainly believe that about Doc. Doc was a better offensive player. Scottie Pippen was a better defensive player. Doc, even though the one championship they got was he and Moses, and I know some people argue that Moses was the key guy on that.
He was, by the way. He was. Moses was.
Yeah, see, I would lean toward Doc because he was Doc.
Well, but no, I mean,
was,
there are. Here's how I describe it. You can say, in fact, I heard who was doing the Sixers game. They lost. It was game 4 when Embiid got hurt. I think it was Reggie Miller. Might have been doing the TV.
Oh, okay.
He was talking about Embiid early in the game, and he said he might be the most well-rounded center ever. You can make that argument because he can do so many different things. He's a great free throw shooter. How many 7'2" guys, who can shoot free throws like he shoots free? He can shoot threes. He can handle the ball. You can make that argument. But when you talk about greatest players, like I will tell you, Scottie Pippen's a more well-rounded player than Doc was. But I'll use it in baseball terms because one guy I always loved as a player, the so-called five-tool player in baseball, was Roberto Alomar. Just a tremendous baseball player. Great fielder, steal, hit per average, hit per power, everything. But who are the most dominant players in the game? The MVPs, if you think about it from a local perspective, the Phillies run. I always say you can talk about Chase Utley. You can talk about Jimmy Rollins. You can talk about whoever you want to talk about. Ryan Howard was the straw that stirred that drink when he was at the apex of his game because he had such an impact on the game. I remember the World Series the Phillies lost. Chase Utley went nuts. You know why he went nuts? Because every time there was somebody on the base paths late in the game, the Yankees would bring in Damaso Marte because they didn't want Ryan Howard getting hot. They said, "Hey, Chase Utley, great play. Hey, we'll let you get yours. But we're not going to let the guy who can kill us get on a roll." Impact on the game, Julius Erving, Scottie Pippen aren't even close. And that's why I said, Jody, you're an old school guy.
You're not giving enough credit to defense, the defense part of the game. They're both Hall of Famers and they're close. To say it's not close is wrong.
It's not close.
To say Scottie Pippen is ahead is blatantly wrong. But to say it's not close between
to be on the top
guys,
50 players, here's how I always
you're wrong
describe
too.
it. To be on the top 50 players of all time, you got to be a Batman. You can't be a Robin. You got to be a Batman. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years. You got to be a Batman. You got to be the lead guy. You got to be the superstar. You got to be everybody that the guy everybody's leaning on. Remember the category. Top 50 of all time. We're not saying it's a good player, it's a great player.
As a matter of fact, aren't both of them on the list?
Yes. One should be, one shouldn't.
So you're using it to make a point that is shot down by your own
result.
But
you're not like
he's a top 50 player. You're saying a Batman. You have to be a Batman. You can't be a Robin.
It's my opinion.
Except Robin's on the list. He's a top 50 all-time player.
But I'm trying to say why one is better than the other. Now people will say they're both top 50 players. I'm saying one was a Batman for the vast majority of his career until Moses got here. The other was a Robin for the vast majority of his career until Michael Jordan walked away from the game for a little bit. Now, I will say this, Jody. When I say I'm a history guy, here's how I look at specifically basketball, baseball. And I encourage everybody to do this. I always do this. Look in the moment. And how do I look in the moment? MVP voting. Look at top 10 MVP voting. Look at top 5, even more than top 10, really top 5. And look at Julius Erving's career, MVP voting, versus Scottie Pippen's career, MVP voting. You will be stunned.
Then give me the results. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Erving was top 5. He was top 10, 11, double-digit times. Okay. Double-digit times. Pippen was top 5, I think, once or twice, top 10 3 or 4 times. Not even close, not even in the realm. That's why I say people are slaves to the moment. So when the documentary goes on and it's so well received, they say, wow, they're slaves to the moment. Julius Erving is lost in history in a large part of the country, not locally. It happens in every sport. Guys are lost to history because people don't care about history. They don't like history. That's why I like to look in the moment. And hey, everybody can do it themselves. Go on Basketball Reference, Baseball Reference. When you want to judge players, look at the MVP voting. Look how dominant they were in the year, in the time, against their peers. That's how you judge greatness.
I think that's a pretty damn good way to judge it. I will draw a different conclusion in you. I'll tell you it's close. We both have Doc. We both have Doc over Pippen. You think it's not close. I do think it is close, but certainly I would give Doc the nod. All right, hey, this is Birds 365. We got off on a basketball tangent. We do need to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday, they put the left tackle position front and center. Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard both got a chance to spend some quality time with you guys who cover the Eagles on a day-in, day-out basis. To me, after watching both of the videos, they both look confident. They both look ready for the season. They both look up to the challenge without doing any smack talking. And I think you have to take the personality of the player into consideration here. I don't see them either being that kind of guy. They're just not smack talkers. And that's okay. It doesn't mean I think some of the greatest offensive linemen, now we're back into the greatest of all time in history talk, some of them would gouge your eyes out to become the greatest of all time. And others of them are professional. And they just go about dominating you with their skill and with their size and the like. So there's different ways to skin a cat. And I think these two guys are more alike than they are different. What was your take on what both Dillard and Mailata had to say yesterday? Did you take anything specific out of what they said about the upcoming competition at left?
Yeah, I think it was a great sign for Andre Dillard. I think when you said both guys are handling it well, they're friends, by the way. That's one of they're legitimate friends, so they're not going to kill each other. But there was a change, Jody, from Andre Dillard. There's no change from Jordan Mailata. Jordan Mailata is just that guy. He's always been that guy. He's always been very outgoing. He's just got a great personality. He just connects with people. Andre Dillard was very reserved. He was very uncomfortable dealing with the media as a rookie. Especially remember that was pre-pandemic, so you have these scrums around his locker. We all know about, his not unwillingness because he did it, but his kind of defeatist attitude when he was forced to move to right tackle. Everybody made such a big deal out of that. You go even back further in training camp as a rookie, he was caught by the Philadelphia Inquirer photographer crying on the field. People won't let that go. The best thing about Andre Dillard is, one, and I advocate this for every athlete, to be honest, he got the hell off social media. I think that's healthy for young athletes. I think Jalen Reagor should do it. He's done it in the past where he deletes it, but then he goes right back to it. I don't think it serves any purpose to go back and forth on social media with fans if you're a professional athlete. He got that out of his life. I think his attitude is positive, and I've said from the start, I think he's going to win this starting left tackle job just because I think he's so much, Jordan started, as I always say, from ground zero, Jody. I mean, he didn't know how to put on a helmet. He had to be taught how to put on a helmet. He literally, when we start ground zero, usually with a football player, we're talking about, okay, he's coming into the NFL after playing high school football, after playing at least a few years in college. And we call that ground zero. That's not ground zero. Ground zero is never having played a snap at any level in any way. And that's where Jordan Mailata was, starting from literally ground zero. So he's still very raw, and especially when it comes to technique and fundamentals. What he does have is just unbelievable physical ability. It's just freakish from the strength, athleticism, size standpoint. from Andre's perspective, man, he was ahead of the game as a pass protector, as a rookie. When I'm talking technique and fundamentals. Now, he needed to get stronger. We've talked about this a lot. He got beat up by the Everson Griffins of the world, the Robert Quinns of the world. They figured out really quickly he's not strong enough right now to play in the NFL. And they just put him on skates. And when veteran players figure that out, I forget who was on the show with us. It might have been Barrett, might have been somebody else. But when veteran players figure that out, they're not going to take it easy on you.
Right.
They're not going to feel bad. They're not going to say, oh, you've had a bad couple of plays. They're going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it until you stop it. And the one thing Andre Dillard said to me is, I am much, much stronger than I was pre-injury. So he's been going in the weight room. He's been doing what he has to do. If that's true, if he's much stronger, he's going to be a good player, Jody. But we have to see it.
Here's one that you and I agree on. I think they will absolutely this year, because it's a new coaching staff. I know there is the old ever-present Howie Roseman, who made both of these guys draft picks. Remember that. Even though Dillard was a number one and Mailata was a lottery ticket type selection, they were both Howie Roseman draft picks. So either way, he's going to look okay if one of the two steps up and wins the job and wins it convincingly and goes out there and plays at a very high level. There isn't a pressure from the organization as to choose one over the other. So I think the coaching staff's going to be real simple about it. May the best man win. Get him out there, get him working, get him on tape, evaluate him up. Take Stoutman's word for it above all others, and I think his should be more than John McMullen, Jody McDonald, John Q. Public Eagle fan, who does the very highly regarded Eagle offensive line coach thinks doing the better job. When you put all that in, get the best guy out there. I don't care where they were drafted. I don't care where they came from. I don't care that one started at ground zero and one was a guy who was traded up for in the first round to be able to select. All that goes out the window. Put them on film, put them out there on the field, judge what they're capable of doing, and boom, hand the job to one of the two of them. And even that, saying that, you don't have to hand it to them for all 17 games. Put them out there. If they're doing a job, there's no reason to replace one of them. But if you choose one, and he is, if it's in the case of Dillard, still not quite strong enough. If it's in the case of Mailata, still isn't 100% there yet because he had to start at ground zero at such a late age in his football life. You can make a change. You don't have to commit the first game of the season. You got to commit to one, and then if he doesn't give it up, you have to stick with him, but don't be afraid to make a change. That's the beauty of this. Let the best man win. We've had a lot of camp battles where we said, yeah, but one was an undrafted free agent, one was a draft pick, so you know the general manager's going to say this, and this coach was involved in the draft pick of this player, and this guy was here previously, so he's got no title. That's the beauty of this competition. These guys are on the same exact level. They were both drafted, and neither one of them was associated with the current coaching staff. So it's a clean slate for both of them. May the best man win, and I think both you and I have a little bit more faith that Dillard is going to be the one who wins the job than most of Eagle Nation.
Yeah, no question. And part of that is because Jordan is so likable. People quickly attach themselves, and they like him, so they want him to be successful. But, you know, you and I have talked about competition a lot. We were talking about it with Jalen Hurts before we got on the show. Look, in some cases it's true. In some cases it's full of you-know-what. In this case, it's true. I mean, everybody made a big deal. Last time we were at practice, Jordan was running with the number ones. Well, you know, the next day when we weren't there, Andre was. So it is going to be a competition. There are certain positions. We talked about backup running back. That's going to be a competitive position, I think, in training camp. Quarterback, it's not, you know. And why isn't it? They don't have another option. When you have options, you can have competition. The one thing where I will disagree with you, Jody, pedigree, even in this instance, buys you opportunities. Andre Dillard's getting another opportunity because he was a first-round pick. if Jordan Mailata sinks last season when he's forced to play, he's not getting another opportunity. So there's the difference. You know, if you're a 7th-round pick, he's incredibly raw.
But I was only talking about coming into this year, not overall in the NFL. The starting point for both of these two guys, I think, is even this year. Are you saying it's not?
Yeah, and this is just a feeling. This is just speculation. This is not reporting. I want to be careful. I get a feeling that they prefer that Andre would win the job for a number of reasons I discussed. One is simple as, you know, Jordan's versatile, so he fits in better as a backup on game day. The other is, I mean, the GM is still here. So while you say the coach isn't here, yes, so the coach has no skin in the game, but the GM still has skin in the game, and he traded up for this guy. So I think that the fingers are crossed saying Andre Dillard hopefully has turned the corner. But that's, you know, that's just a feeling I get.
If you're telling me Ty goes to the runner and the runner is Andre Dillard, okay, I'll buy that and I'll agree with you. But if Mailata's better, and even if
if he's better, if he clearly outplays him.
He's better. Well, I didn't say clearly. I'm just saying it's close. We're back to our Scottie Pippen and Dr. Irving, Dr. Julius Irving debate. It's close, but if you got to make a call, you say Mailata's better. I think Mailata's going to start.
Well, then you start splitting hairs. How close is it? If it's really close, then I think they might go, you know what? Let's make Howie happy. He is versatile. He fits in better. If he falls flat on his face, they can do what you say. They can bench him after a month or so if they're a bad football team, and it won't have much of an effect. So I think, you know, it's almost like a boxer, like a championship boxer. Everyone says you got to beat him. You got to knock him out sometimes. You got to, if it's close, you're gonna give it to the champion. I'm not saying Andre Dillard's the champion, but I am saying if he's close, I think they're going to default to making Howie Roseman happy.
And here's what I think is a major plus on the Eagles' side. The guy who should, and I believe will, make the call is Jeff Stoutman. And he is the only coach on this staff who can say, well, I had seen them previously. He came through with those two players. So he's got history to judge, not just throw up a tape. I saw it with my own eyes. I was here. I was their coach. So he's in a better position, in a positional battle to make a call than any other coach on the Eagles coaching staff. We'll see if it shakes out that way. All right, we're going to take our first time out of the day. We're hoping to go behind enemy lines. We promised you we'd do this from time to time over the course of the offseason leading into the upcoming year. And then when we get in season, we'll certainly try on every given week to punch up someone who covers the team who's on the Eagles schedule. We know for a fact the Eagles have to play all their divisional opponents twice, which means Dallas, New York, and Washington. We've already given you a giant beat guy joining us. We're hoping to get a Redskin beat guy up today. Chris Russell has been part of the Redskin coverage on their radio network for years. He's the Redskin insider, 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. He's scheduled to join us. We haven't hooked up with him yet, but we're hoping he jumps aboard. Chris Russell talking Washington football team. Did I say Redskins once there? I probably
yeah. We're gonna get a swear jar going for you, Jody, because there's a lot of R words.
You know what I have to say about those who get pissed off about that?
Well, I don't get pissed off. I just mean the name of the team. I've always been one of those people. Like, I'm not going to make news up for you. If the name of the team is the Redskins, I'm going to call them the Redskins. If the name of the team is the Washington football team, I'm going to call them the Washington football team, because that's my job. My job is to tell you what's going on. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to call the Redskins if that's the name of the team.
Right. But my point is, if I called them the Redskins by mistake and somebody's going to get bent out of shape, I got two words for you. I got two words for you. Not happy birthday. I wish my daughter happy birthday yesterday. If I have to wish you happy birthday with two other words, one that begins with F, one that begins with Y, so be it. I don't care. They're a football team that plays down the Turnpike. They were once coached by George Allen. We all know who we're talking about. How you're referencing them.
I don't think we all know. We were talking about the history. I don't think we all know. You and I know. You and I know the San Diego Chargers, the Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, the St. Louis Rams, the LA Rams, the Chicago
Wait a
Cardinals.
minute. Well, yeah. Now you're going down a rabbit hole here. You're talking about teams that were named something 40 years ago. They were the stinking Redskins 12 months ago.
Yeah, but you know how people are, Jody. Come on.
Yeah. People, stay tuned. We got much more Birds 365 coming your way. Hoping to hear from Chris Russell from 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. next here on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on three. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
A Football Friday edition of Mac and Mac. It is getting that much closer to the start of season. John is getting ready for some serious grass time. Got some practice to get to today. As you can see by the 2 box rather than 3 box, we're having trouble hooking up with Chris Russell, our friend from D.C., who's going to come on and talk some Washington football team with us. Hopefully we punch him up. If we don't, John and I will just continue to talk birds with you. And there was other news in addition to them making a couple of their offensive linemen, a.k.a. the battle for left tackle, available to you guys. The Eagles did announce officially the signing of several of their draft picks. And the biggest news, of course, is number 1 pick. Devonta Smith got $20 and change million guaranteed over a 4-year deal with the option for the 5th year. Slotted in, and no great surprises. I could have been within $100,000 of what the number was probably going to be, so it was no great surprise. They just made it official today. Getting all that money guaranteed is the dessert you get or being a first-round pick. You don't have to sing for your supper. You get all that money locked in. So good for Devonta Smith. Yeah, and the only thing that grabbed my attention yesterday, and again, the Eagles can announce these whenever they see fit. They've got the cap flexibility to be able to do it. Some teams actually need to create the cap flexibility to get all their guys signed or up against it. Eagles didn't have to do anything like that. They announced their first-round pick, their third-round pick, their fourth-round pick, and their fifth-round pick, and didn't announce the signing of their second-round pick. And we know who the second-round pick is, a guy who the Eagles have high hopes for going forward. Maybe not week number one, maybe not even season number one, because he's coming back from a major injury. But did you think there was any reading between the lines to be done with the fact that the Eagles did not announce the signing of their second-round draft pick, Landon Dickerson?
No, generally this stuff is just timing. As you mentioned, everything is slotted in now, Jody. I think it's been a theme of the show. If you go back years and years and years, there weren't those slots. You had holdouts, you had wrangling. Now they've set up this sort of structure in the CBA where everybody knows what they're going to get paid. So it's just timing. It's just, maybe you haven't worked things out with that particular agent. Sometimes the Eagles announce all the signings at one time.
Right.
They had a little bit more of a difficult time here because they had to wait till June 1st because they didn't have the money. And they had to wait for the designations on Malik Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey. So you had that hurdle to deal with. Then it becomes, maybe an agent's doing something else with somebody else, and they just got to get back to you. I imagine everybody is done before they leave Philadelphia. It's probably going to happen today, as a matter of fact. I'll know more when I get down there. Who knows? They might even announce it before we get down there while we're on the air. That'd be nice. Eagles, closed circuit. You might as well announce it. Now, the one thing I will throw in the mix, because you bring up Landon Dickerson, occasionally agents will balk over offset language. And to me, I've always described it as sort of that married couple that doesn't like each other and immense reasons to fight. That's sort of what that wrangling of offset language has always meant to me, especially with first-round picks, because you don't want to admit you made a mistake on a person. It's very rare, unless you look at the kid in Tennessee who just goes completely off the rails. Something weird happens. It's very rare you're going to give up on a first-round pick early in his contract. Now, occasionally things happen, injuries, whatever, and you do get cut, and they don't pick up your fifth-year option. Rare occasion you get cut before the fourth year. And in that instance, teams want, if somebody else picks you up, they want that offset. Whatever they're going to pay you, we don't have to pay you. So that's sort of where the wrangling comes in. With Landon's case, maybe it's a little bit more. Maybe the Eagles are pushing it because of all the injuries. That could be a slight hurdle, but I wouldn't think it would be serious at all.
Right, because I think there's got to be something. You're trying to downplay it, and you could very well be right. You don't know. I don't know. You're giving speculation and well-known experience to the way that these things have shook up before in other places. I just am saying I never remember a team announcing the first-round draft pick signed, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And sometimes there's extra thirds or no fourth, and you got a fifth and sixth. I just don't remember a second-round draft pick being in the middle of draft pick announcements of signings being absentee. I think it's safe to say and read into it that there's something, that it's not just, Landon didn't want to we didn't push it. His agent was on vacation. No, I think there is something that is still being negotiated that hasn't been agreed upon yet. Now, is it a massive thing that we have to go, oh, no, they're not going to get him signed. He's going to be a camp holdout. No, I don't believe that for a millisecond. But I do believe that there is something that, I hope it doesn't lend itself to bad tidings, that one of the two sides gets either ticked off and They look at the guy askance when he comes into camp, or he looks at his coach askance when he finally gets there and signs on. I hope that's not the case, but I don't think it's as easily dismissed as, well, it doesn't even. They stop. Don't worry about it. No, I am worrying about it a little.
Nah, stop. Don't worry about it. And now where I was saying, well, you're right. I mean, there's something going on, because if not, they would have signed everybody.
All of them,
they would have signed the 6th round pick. That's why I say don't worry about it. I mean, the fact is that they have some salary cap issues. They had to create space to begin with. They're a little bit behind, although there's about a little bit less than half of the first-round picks are signed, I think, around the league right now. So it's not like they're the only team. My point is, the system as it's set up, there's not going to be a problem. I mean, they've eliminated that problem. So, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of wrangle room. Generally, again, I brought up offset language. Another way is, money. How much is going to be upfront? How much is going to be deferred? When are these payments coming out? Sometimes they're staggered by a couple months. It could be as simple as that. My only point is, he's not going to hold out. Is my point. I mean, there's no way to he has no leverage. There's nothing he can do.
No, but you can say that, John. You can say that of every player. He has no leverage. No, everybody has the same leverage.
No,
you actually believe the Eagles are going to cut him?
There's a rookie wage scale in the NFL through collective bargaining now. That's the difference. Starting in 2011 and moving through to the new CBA, that's the difference. Pre-CBA, post-CBA, back in the day, you used to have holdouts all the time. Guys would hold out for weeks and weeks and weeks. Sam Bradford was the last bonus baby, so to speak, as the number 1 overall pick. Ever since that time, these are slotted positions. There's a rookie wage scale that everybody has agreed to. So, no, it's not going to. That's why I say, no, don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about.
The only thing that is being leveraged out is the amount of the signing bonus. That's the only thing that varies. 6th and 7th, you're going to take whatever the hell you get your hands on. First round pick, basically the whole thing's guaranteed. That 2nd and 3rd round is where the amount of signing bonus, how much is guaranteed, does have some fluctuation to it. The overall amount of the contract is basically slotted. You're right. But how much of it is, do you have to come in and sing for your supper and potentially not be able to perform and get cut, or come in and earn your money? I do think there's a bit of a negotiation here. All right, we're going to take another quick timeout. We are told that Chris Russell is now ready to join us. He's going to join us next, talk some Washington football team here on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3, 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Mega Mac guys here with you on Birds 365. John McMullen, Jody McDonald. You know our job is to keep you entertained and informed about the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, to do that, you got to give some information and insight on the competition, on who the Eagles will be taking on this year. And no, twice this year, they'll be going up against the formerly known as the Redskins. I told you I don't care about you-know-what about if anybody gets ticked off. The Washington football team, and joining us, despite the fact that he's got a little bit too much hair on the top of his head and not enough hair on his chin, Redskins insider for 106.7 The Fan down in D.C., Chris Russell jumps aboard with us. Hello, Chris. How are you, bud?
Jody Mac, John, thanks for having me. Yeah, sorry about the hair. And I definitely have to get like you guys with the with the well-seasoned what do you call it, goatee type thing.
Trust me.
I shaved my playoff beard when the Capitals got eliminated in 5 by the Bruins. So otherwise I would have been able to do better for you guys. Sorry.
Yeah. You're much better off than we are, Chris. Be happy. But I hear you with the hockey beard. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I want to start off quickly because this is one of my favorite NFL jokes. What's your favorite bridge? Golden Gate, Brooklyn, or Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Boom. Woo. Well, being that this is a football show, I guess I'll say my favorite bridge is Ryan Fitzpatrick, right?
He's my favorite bridge.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know his name, his personality, his career has kind of been a joke in a lot of people's eyes, but I don't. Look, moving forward, I think he's the ideal guy for them right now because if you look at what it was going to cost them, if you
if you look at George Washington Bridge, I don't know which one.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at what it was going to cost them to move up for Justin Fields or for somebody like that, it was going to cost them a fortune, right? Russell Wilson didn't have them on their list, so that wasn't happening. Deshaun Watson, you know what that kind of mess is. Aaron Rodgers, forget about it, whether he's unhappy. So who else were you going to go with? Alex Smith was, as you guys saw in Week 17, banging around on one leg. They didn't want him back. Dwayne Haskins was a disaster. So where else were you going to go? This was the option. This was the option when you were sitting at number 19 and it cost too much, of course, to move up. So I have no problem with it, whether it's a 1-year solution, whether it's a 2-year solution. Right now he's only under a 1-year deal, guys. But I would say this, just the little bit that I get to see at OTAs, Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be the best quarterback this organization has had clearly since Kirk Cousins. There is no doubt in my mind about that. And that's pre-healthy Alex Smith.
All right. Sounds like we all agree that it's Ryan Fitzpatrick's team to do what he's going to do with. However, after Taylor Heineke played in the playoff game last year, and he actually kept the Washington football team in the game. They didn't win, and they lost to the eventual champion, which, again, no disgrace. And Heineke was okay. He was pretty good that day. Wasn't great. Otherwise, he would have won the game. He wasn't, but he was good. They didn't get embarrassed. They could have got embarrassed. They were pretty aggressive in going out and linking him to a contract, paying him either good backup money or cheap starter money, and he wasn't going to get good starter money. But it was a little bit higher than I thought it was going to come in at, just my understanding and grasp of quarterback numbers and salaries around the league. I wasn't sure what the Redskins were going to do, and they did that first, and then they got Fitzpatrick done. Is there any competition at all here? If you go into camp, and because we know he's Fitzmagic, he's Fitztragic. Right. You never know which one you're going to get. He can go both ways. He can go phenomenal or god-awful. If it's heavy god-awful in preseason, can Heineke actually take that job?
I don't think Fitzpatrick's going to play a ton in the preseason, number one. Number two, I know where you're getting at, Jody Mack. I mean, I could certainly not rule out any kind of crazy scenario. But to me, as much as they kind of like Taylor Heineke, what people have to remember is, number one, against Tampa that night, no Vita Vea and no Devin White, two of their best defensive players. That's number one. Number two, remember, Taylor Heineke was at ODU finishing up his grad work until early November. He was their, let me see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he was their fifth quarterback of choice last year, okay? And the reason why he caught on and got an invite as a COVID quarterback is because you remember the whole situation with the Denver Broncos when they didn't have a quarterback to play that one weekend. That's the only reason why they brought him in, and because he had been with the Carolina Panthers, so he knew the terminology, so he could like be available without having to learn the system, because he already knew much of the system from in Carolina. So, yeah, they signed him to this 2-year deal. You want to talk about a bridge deal? That's essentially a bridge deal. It's not even like good backup money, quite honestly, but it's better money than Taylor Heineke was making. I mean, and he goes out and has this great performance against Tampa. He also played well in a fourth quarter against against Carolina in week 16. But he's not. I would say this: if Taylor Heineke's got to start more than 1 or 2 games for you, you're in trouble. If Taylor Heineke has to start one game, finish up a game, you're okay. Don't also rule out a guy, Kyle Allen, who actually was brought here via trade and was with Ron and Scott Turner in Carolina and actually played 13 or 14 games the year that Cam Newton got hurt, the year that Rivera got fired. So don't forget about him.
That's what I was going to ask you, Chris. So nice segue. I mean, Ron Rivera likes Kyle Allen. Can Taylor Heineke even hang off, hold off Kyle Allen to be the backup quarterback? Taylor is a smart guy. He was going to be an engineer. So, I'm not sure this is long-term. I give Taylor all the credit. When he was back in Minnesota, you guys probably know the story when he put his foot through a door. Yeah, like he was in a position to be a big time backup. But I look at Kyle Allen and say he's probably more of Ron Rivera's choice to be sort of that backup quarterback if Ron Fitzpatrick has a really, really poor stretch.
Yeah, John, I agree with you. I think Kyle Allen's the number 2 guy, even though last week he was number 3 because he's working back from off-season surgery. The only question that I have right now about him is whether he's going to be 100% healthy for training camp. Like we talked to him yesterday, and he said that's the goal. But you guys know, like, athletes are always going to say, well, my goal, my plan, whatever. But we don't know if he's actually going to be ready to go. And does that set him back in any sort of That's the competition in my eyes. It's for the number 2 quarterback between Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen. But if all things are equal and everybody's healthy, and that's a big problem because neither Heineke nor Allen have been able to stay healthy in their careers, I think the job is Allen then Heineke. But I think Heineke is on this roster And I think he makes it. And I think part of the reason why they didn't more aggressively go after a young rookie quarterback or whatever was because they felt, okay, we have not one, but two adequate backups or guys that in a pinch could play. Like everybody killed Doug Peterson, right? For Nate Sudfeld, week 17. I'm sure you guys have talked about that a time or 3,000, right? I mean, you know, I like Nate. He was drafted here, a nice kid, but he wasn't prepared to play. But they feel Kyle Allen and Taylor Heineke can absolutely play in a pinch if they need. So that's why, again, I think they went the veteran bridge route and not the all-in route.
If you're going to refer to the former Redskin, and they were the Redskins when he was there,
Yes.
and Eagle quarterback, you must call him the unstoppable Nate Sudfeld.
The unstoppable.
That's what the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles referred to him as.
Hey, listen, Kyle Shanahan must think something of him because he caught on there, and they got about 17 quarterbacks. But, you know, like I covered Kyle Shanahan for 4 years here in Washington. I know what makes him tick pretty well. Kyle Shanahan doesn't like bad quarterbacks, so he must see something in them, you know.
Well, because Jeff Lurie called him unstoppable.
Yeah.
We want to move on to the defensive line. We debated what the Eagles were going to do during this offseason from the time we started the show a couple months ago, and I thought they needed an upgrade. And I mentioned a couple of veteran defensive ends who hadn't signed quickly in free agency, and one of them was Ryan Kerrigan. And John continued to tell me they're not going to do that. They're in a transition period. They're not going to bring in a veteran guy. Well, they brought him in. They brought him in inexpensively, surprisingly to John and myself here, that they were able to get him for the amount of money that they did. What happened between he and the Washington football team? I understand he wasn't going to get starting time anymore. He had lost his starting position. The Redskins are going younger and better. But he was a guy who came off the bench and did some things for him last year. He could have been part of the rotation again this year. Why the divorce between he and the Washington football team?
So a couple of things. I mean, obviously, as a free agent, you know, you can classify that as a divorce, or you can just classify it as the end of time, right? But I would say this: if you look at Ryan, he had 5.5 sacks in his first, let me see, like I think 9 games last year. Maybe it was 8 games in a very, 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 very limited role. And then he didn't have any sacks, any quarterback hits in his final 7 games, including the playoff games. So I think that, you know, kind of told them, hey, look, this guy wants to be a starter. He wants to play more, but yet, like, as we gave him a little bit more work and as we gave him a little bit, as the season wore on, he didn't have the same pop that he had earlier in the year. And you guys remember in week 1 against Carson Wentz and that famed Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, how good Ryan Kerrigan was. 2 sacks, a bunch of, you know, a forced fumble. I think he was NFC Defensive Player of the Week, all that. So, you know, he kind of, even though they had kept his snaps limited earlier in the year, he didn't have that same, you know, late season pop, if you will, that he had shown in other years when, you know, in 2017, 2018, guys, he had 13, I think it was 13 or 13 and a half sacks each of those 2 years, you know. So look, I love Ryan. I've covered him since before he became a member of the Washington, whatever they are. And I got to know him really well. I just had him on my radio show a couple of weeks ago, right after he signed with Philadelphia. He told me he was really intrigued, you know, by what the new defensive coordinator and system that they're setting up there in Philadelphia, which is going to allow him to not only be a 4-3 end at times, but also maybe work in some principles of the 3-4 edge. And maybe kick down inside and nickel, like closer to the football over the center, which is always a way that I think you can maximize a little bit more out of Ryan Kerrigan, because he's not a speed guy. He's not a move guy like with, spin moves or rips and all that stuff. He's more of a bull rush, get your hands into him and drive somebody back or win with strength. So to me, I think it's if Philly's using him right, and Washington didn't use him as much this way, and I thought they should have over the course of his career. So a lot of defensive coordinators, I think they should use him more inside where he can get a more straight and direct line and path to the quarterback. That's just my view. He's not a great run stopper, but he's not horrible. He's an effort guy. He's a leader. He's a captain. He's everything you want from a human being. I love Ryan Kerrigan, but is he going to come in and get you 13 sacks? Probably not. Is he going to play most Sundays? He's only missed 3 games in his career, 4 games in his career, 3.5 games in his career. So, I mean, he's pretty reliable.
Hey, Chris, to me, I have to talk about why Ryan wasn't playing in Washington. And that's the best defensive line in football. When I saw Chase Young go to Washington, I said, that's bad news for the Eagles for about 10 years. I mean, that guy is going to be a superstar. You talk about Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen inside, Montez Sweat on the edge. That's where this team is built. That's where this team starts. How good is that group, and how much better are they going to get as Chase Young continues to improve?
Yeah, no doubt, John. I mean, that's the strength. That's where they've overdrafted, in my opinion, and others. You mentioned Deron Payne. Jonathan Allen was drafted one year ahead of him in the first round. Payne, obviously, both in the mid-teens. Then Sweat. And they wanted Sweat at 15 in 2019, and Dan Snyder came off the yacht, as Jay Gruden likes to say, and forced them to take Dwayne Haskins. So, and then with a new administration, Chase Young is just sitting there at number 2. Now, they could have gone to, I think that would have been a mistake. I admit I was wrong on Justin Herbert. I think a lot I didn't think Justin Herbert would be as good as he was. So, I'll own up to that. I didn't think Herbert was worth the number 2 overall pick. I thought it was the right pick, even though they had overinvested in the defensive line. One other, thing we should point out, guys, they have Temple's Matt Ioannidis as well, coming back from a torn bicep. And he is a guy that was their best pass rusher up until, Chase Young and really Montez Sweat kind of in year 2 for him, and Chase Young last year kind of showed up. He was out much of last year. He was hurt early in week 3 and missed the rest of the year. And then a guy like Tim Settle is a 6th defensive lineman, a defensive tackle that makes up the depth. So when you're rolling out those guys, and I'm telling you, Montez Sweat might be the best of them all when it's all said and done in terms of his range, his frame, his wingspan to knock down passes. I saw him jack up a right tackle the other day in practice. I mean, the guy is just country strong, and he's got some developing moves, is what I would say. And Chase Young, listen, he's going to get all the headlines. I understand why. I think he can get better, though, in terms of when he doesn't win off the first step. And initially, I think where he has to really get better in year 2 and beyond is, again, developing those counter moves, something that Kerrigan, quite honestly, never really fully developed either. And it's harder. It's hard to say, just do this and you'll be successful. Well, you don't have a lot of time to do this if you're not good at it naturally. I think Chase has to get better at that in that regard. But there is no doubt this defensive line, 6-7 guys, are really the strength. And you guys remember what happened with Philadelphia in the Super Bowl year and what happened to the Giants with that NASCAR package. Yep. That's how you win Super Bowls.
Yep.
Chris, I referred to the division that both teams played in last year as the NFC least because it earned that designation. It was a bad division. But on draft night and the second and the third night, I said, well, at least the NFC least was improved. Everybody here in Philadelphia was excited about the Eagles draft led by Devonta Smith. I said, they're not the only team in the division that did well. I like the Giants trade back, and they got future assets. I think the Dallas Cowboys filled needs. And I think your Washington team did pretty well, at least with the top 3 draft picks. Jamin Davis probably going to start. Diami Brown and Samuel Cosme, chance to compete for jobs. Give me your read on the draft and how much immediate impact it can pay in 2021 for the Washington football team.
Yeah, I think it was a good draft. I don't know if it was a great A plus, whatever, A minus. I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously we got to wait a couple of years. I gave it a B, just on the initial surface because I thought Jamin Davis was a guy that gives them positional versatility. He's going to start if nothing goes wrong from here until the start of the season, guys. He's going to start at the Mike linebacker, which, they had originally told us while he certainly could play the Mike, And that's what he did at Kentucky, that they were going to start him outside, but they're trying to shove it down, basically, for lack of a better term, his throat to learn the defense and to make the adjustments and the calls and to get him ready to be the Mike right from day one. Now, assuming it goes the way it is, that's what you'll see week 1 against the LA Chargers. And who knows what'll happen by the time the Eagles and Washington meet up. So, you look at him, and again, I think he's going to be a really good player. Now, is he going to be Luke Kuechly, which everybody, this is Rivera's Luke Kuechly? I mean, really? Luke Kuechly was a stud.
A little unfair, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can we let the kid play one snap first before we say he's, Ron? You guys get the point. You guys have done this long enough. So, Cosme, I liked at 51. I did not like at 19 because I thought he's really athletic, and they say he can push the pile, but I didn't see that a whole lot on tape. I saw athleticism. I know he's fast. I know he can move. And I know if he's at right tackle, he's going to, a lot of people think, at right tackle, you got to be this 335-pound road grader. No, not. I mean, that hasn't been true for the last 5. You guys know what Lane Johnson, right? If you can't mirror a great pass rusher on the right side, how do you block Khalil Mack, who lines up on the left side? How do you block a Ryan Kerrigan, who for much of his career lined up on the left side of a defense, and so on and so forth? You have to be really athletic and really good on that side now, because teams have countered with, you're going to load up on the left side at left tackle. Well, we're going to switch our best pass rusher to the left side of the defense, the right side of your offensive line. So I think Cosme and this guy Cornelius Lucas, who played left tackle last year but is more of a right tackle, they'll battle it out for camp. I would guess Cosme probably starts early to midway through the season, if not before. But I definitely think you'll see a lot of him probably by the time they play the Birds in December, and I guess it's early January. And then real quickly, De'Ami Brown, you match him with Curtis Samuel, who they brought over from Carolina, and Terry McLaurin. I mean, you guys know what Philly's going to expect from Devontae Smith, right? The lights-out speed, the game-breaking ability, the home run. They have 3 guys that can hit home runs now.
Chris, I wanted to talk to you about a player that interests me personally because I'm just so intrigued by him, and that's Benjamin St. Juste. So you mentioned you were at practice. Yeah. What have you seen from him early on? And also Casey Tuhill, our old friend in Philadelphia that Washington picked him up on waivers. Looks like he's fitting in at linebacker now. Is that correct?
Well, John, I've seen him. I've seen him a little bit at both. I mean, I've seen him line up, because Chase Young and Montez Sweat have been in and out Chase Young hasn't been here at all. And Montez Sweat missed last week, but he was here this week. I saw him more at defensive end, but I've seen him, kind of mix and match because they're trying to find positional versatility for these guys. And linebacker is still their quote unquote weakness, right? So if you can contribute as an edge guy, remember they lost not only Kerrigan, but Ryan Anderson to the Giants, right? And they were coming from a 3-4 to a 4-3, but you can still morph and still have some blended, hybrid schemes, right? And some different looks when you need a little something different. So they're looking for guys that can play not just one position, but 2. So that's Casey Tuhill. I think he looks fine. I mean, I didn't see anything that made me go, wow, but I think he's definitely been getting some 1 reps in the couple of practices that we've been allowed out there. But again, that's mostly because no Chase Young, Montez Sweat. About St. Juste, I love him. That was a guy on night 2 of the draft, before the second round started, I said, if Washington could walk away with Benjamin St. Juste, by the time this night is over and they had, second round pick Cosme and 2 third-round picks, I said, I'll be a happy man because he's 6'2.5". He can man press. They're going to be a lot more man coverage and man press this year. That's what Jack Del Rio wanted to do last year. But really Ronald Darby, who you guys know well, couldn't really hold up, Remember in week 1, Jalen Reagor, the rookie, just blew past him for a big 50 plus. There was a couple of times after that happened, and he couldn't really play man and jam at the line of scrimmage a whole lot because Darby would get exposed. Kendall Fuller would get exposed from time to time. They're going to be more 65% man this year. St. Just fits in great there. William Jackson III from football, Siberia and Cincinnati is a man on your hip corner. That's going to be a great matchup. If Devontae Smith is Devontae Smith, you put William Jackson III and Devontae Smith together in late December. That's going to be fun. That's going to grab your popcorn, as T.O. used to say, right? We're going to have some fun with that matchup, but they're going to be more man press. And I wonder if it kicks Kendall Fuller inside, guys. Last year when they brought him back from Kansas City, he was always outside because they didn't have anybody to pair with Darby. They just didn't have anybody. So Fuller, when he's been at his best in both Washington the previous time before the Alex Smith trade and in Kansas City, I think he's a better slot corner where he can use some of this physicality against smaller, shiftier guys as opposed to going against 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" giants on the outside. So to me, that's how I see if St. Just is who I think he is, who his defensive coordinator thinks he is, what I've seen a little bit of in just brief OTAs, I think those are the two starters, he and WJ3, and then Kendall Fuller in the middle, in the slot.
Chris, great stuff. We appreciate you coming on board. Now that you're part of the family, we will be tapping into you again when we get a little closer to the season. We do want to go behind enemy lines, touch base with the Eagles' opponents as we get ready for the season. Thanks for filling in some of the blanks for us today.
Yeah, I love you guys both. Anytime you need me, sorry for being late. Your boy was up late watching hockey last night and other things. So,
and you have the shade.
The Lakers get eliminated. You didn't watch LeBron get down.
I watched a little bit. Jody, I got a problem. I get a little stubborn. I'm not Mr. NBA. I mean, I like it, but I can't watch the constant timeouts and all, like the last couple of minutes of the game.
You're a hockey head. Admit to it. You're a Redskin guy. You're a hockey head.
I'll admit I'm a hockey head. I've got a thing for the puck,
It's a yin and yang. We got a hockey guy. I'm an NBA guy. So that's how you have it. That's
good stuff. We
appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Chris.
We'll reach out again. Thanks for hopping on with us today.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Russell, the Washington football team insider for 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. Giving us some good.
By the way, Jody, he gave us great intel on Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan wouldn't tell us anything. He's telling Chris everything he's going to do. I'm excited because that's what I thought was going to happen. They were going to use him in that A-gap look that the Vikings use. And as in the stand-up edge rusher, do a lot of different things. He's like, they're very close to the best in Philadelphia, to say the least. They don't want these guys saying anything. And meanwhile, Ryan Kerrigan's going on with his friend, Chris Russell, who he's known for years, and he's letting the cat out of the bag. So that's exciting for me.
That's why people got to watch Birds 365. Yeah. We'll get you Eagle information, even if we get it in through the back door. With a Washington football team guy.
We backdoored it, and it was brilliant, by the way.
It is. That's what we're here for. He is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We'll take a time out, come back. We do have another good guest coming your way. Details on that next year on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
but as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fought. What's that? Huck and Fought. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
We are the Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. That kind of caught up on us here. And my bad, wasn't ready. The music kind of zotzed out on us pretty quickly, but we'll be hanging with you for another 50 some odd minutes. And we do have another guest scheduled to join us coming up in a couple minutes from now. That would be Mike Tanier from footballoutsiders.com. John, practice today for the Birds. You'll be down there on the grass. How long you guys got? How do you think this will compare? Are they actually advancing in their off-season program? Is it you expect it to be much the same as you got last time you were on the grass? What do you think the Eagles are looking to get done here in phase 3?
Yeah, this is it, by the way. This is the last time we're going to see the Eagles until really August, because even though training camp starts July 27th, you have this ramp up period now where essentially you can't do anything for the first week. So this is going to be it. Our last look at the Eagles, it's going to be about 30 minutes. It's going to be individual drills. Remember, the Eagles are one of those teams not having a mandatory minicamp. They're one of those teams that, excuse me, has scaled back work. There's no teamwork, no 7-on-7s, no 11-on-11s. That's not the case in some cities. Some cities are having a more normal off season. You know, is that going to hurt a rookie coaching staff? I don't know. Look, it is what it is. We've been calling it a gathering. I don't think it's necessarily positive for the younger players, especially, but that's what Nick Sirianni has to work with. That's what he's working with, and we'll see how it all shakes out. You know, one thing I did want to circle back to, because I was trying to get it up, we were talking about Landon Dickerson and his contract. This is why I said, Jody, don't worry about it. I can already tell you what the contract is going to be. So I was looking it up. He's going to get $8.6 million. He's going to get a signing bonus of $3.6 million. Cap hit's going to be $1.5 million. His salaries are going to be 1.6, up to 2. Up to 2.36, up to 2.754. My point is, it's slotted. That's why I said don't worry about it. And then the second part with Chris Russell, again, I got to harp on that Ryan Kerrigan part. I think that gives you maybe the best indication of what Jonathan Gannon is going to be as a defensive coordinator to this point. I've speculated, a lot of people have speculated that you're going to see a lot of Mike Zimmer influence. We just confirmed that on Birds 365. That's Mike Zimmer. What Ryan Kerrigan was saying, that's Mike Zimmer's defense.
Understood. I don't know where you're getting that Landon Dickerson information. I think that generally speaking, there is some wiggle room in those numbers that you just put out there, specifically in the amount of bonus money, signing money, guaranteed money that can move and does move with players. Generally speaking, the overall money is going to be locked into what you stated, but I think that's what they're negotiating right now. You mentioned it earlier, and I think you hit it spot on. The offset money, in case there is injury issues, and oh, by the way, that's a pretty fair question with Landon Dickerson, injury issues that the team wants to cover their backside. They're probably fighting for some pretty big offset monies, and his agent is probably trying to limit it as best they can. I do think it's a situation that's worth keeping your eyes on because I just don't remember teams announcing their first-round draft pick, their third-round draft pick, their fourth-round draft, and their fifth-round draft pick. Well, why'd you skip over two? There's got to be a little bit of a rub there. We don't know what the rub is. We don't know how big the rub is, but I do think it's worthy keeping our eye on. I do have one other question for you, and then we're hoping to get Mike Tanier up here from Football Outsiders. I did see a story about the 49ers and the Chargers getting together for organized practices the week prior to the week they're scheduled to play each other in the preseason. Now, we know that the preseason is now down to 3 games because the regular season is up to 17 games. So you don't have the usual 4 games. And my guess is that those 2 teams are playing early in the preseason. We've seen the Eagles do this before, have organized practices and run a little scrimmage action against the team if they're going to play them during the preseason. The Eagles early in the preseason are scheduled to play the Steelers this year. New England won of their preseason, and the last one, as always, hasn't changed. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The final preseason game against the Jets, although they still haven't picked that date out yet. That date is not officially locked in, but we know it's going to be more than a week before the season opener. Do you expect the Eagles to do that practice/scrimmage thing again? They did it a couple of times over the last decade, but not every year. Have you heard anything about them potentially doing that this season?
Not yet, but it depends on the coach. I mean, Doug Peterson loved joint practices. He would always say that you could get more work done in a joint practice than a preseason game because you could script things. In other words, if you want to work on red zone or third downs or goal line, you could script it. Whereas if you're in an actual game, you got to hope that it unveils itself in the natural sort of evolution of the game itself. So he always thought you could get more work accomplished in joint practices. It's always, sort of the head coaches. Does Nick Sirianni want it? Does Robert Saleh want it? And it generally happens. I think Minnesota and Denver also announced they're having joint practices before a preseason game. So it always comes down to the 2 organizations. Usually happens when a team is coming in. They'll come in a few days early and have a couple joint practices, then play the game. So it's always up to the 2 head coaches and what they want to get done. But for the most part, coaches seem to like, as where we are in sort of the current NFL that we talk about all the time, they tend to like joint practices because they think they can get a lot of work accomplished.
Right. And again, just from memory off the top of my head, it is usually earlier in the preseason. Now, earlier used to be week 1 or week 2. Well, we only have 3 weeks now. So is earlier just week 1 or is it week 1 or week 2? It's probably not week 3. So it's probably not going to be the Jets. And oh, by the way, yes, the Eagles and the Jets do play in the season, which from time to time,
one of my favorite things, Jody, real quick, I got to tell you this, was New England came in for joint practices with the Eagles. I got to see Tom Brady on one-on-one drills against the Eagles defensive backs. I have never heard more expletives in my life. That's how accurate Tom Brady was. It was amazing on the field. And, you're seeing other quarterbacks, and it's not the same. And opposite, you would see, Brady put it on the back shoulder, and you'd see it was right on the side field at the NovaCare complex for anybody who was there. So I was 5 feet away from the receivers and the cornerbacks walking back after the rep. And it was just a constant barrage of F words and shaking the heads. It was unbelievable. It's one of the most exciting things I've ever seen. And I've been covering this league for a long time. It was just different when he would throw the football.
It might be the New England Patriots who come in for an organized practice this year. Again, only that Brady guy isn't going to be coming in. If the
Not
Patriots
the same,
are, he would be a Buccaneer champion now. All right, we'll take a time out here. We're hoping to hear from Mike Tanier, Football Outsiders, and does some writing for the New York Times as well. We'll talk all things NFL with an Eagles slant with Mike Tanier, hopefully next here on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Mega guys, you 365, John McMullen. We do have a guest joining us, as you can see him in our three screen here. Also a member of the Grey Goatee Club. As a matter of fact, for Football Outsiders and the New York Times, Mike Tanier joins us here on Birds 365. How are you this morning, Mike?
I'm great. I'm used to being the grayest goatee on this.
Not even close, Mike.
Not even close.
5 to 15 years behind you guys, and I'm hiding the other element of there up top. I'm subtly like pretending that there's a full head of hair under here.
Yeah. There's no use pretending at this point, so I've given in. I tapped out to that. But thrilled to have you on, Mike. I do want to, Mike's a Jersey guy, so he's got his foot. He knows with the Eagles, also league wide. So we're going to get into a bunch of topics with you, Mike. But I do want to start with the Eagles. It's Birds 365. So I think from a national perspective, we've seen these power rankings coming from everybody. Point is, nobody thinks much of this football team. It seems locally, the Eagles, for one, think they're a little bit better than other people think they are. Where do you come down with that?
Yeah, I don't get this sense of, we're a rebuilding team coming out of the Eagles, like sort of the mentality. Now, no team likes to signal that. I guess unless you were like the Browns and you cut everybody and you were talking about, Moneyball and things like that. Most teams don't like to signal they're rebuilding. It doesn't seem like the Eagles are in any way signaling they're rebuilding. The flip side of that is we're working at Football Outsiders on our annual almanac. We've been getting the statistical projections coming through, and the Eagles are coming out as a 7-10 team. Now, 7-10 might be better than some of the other national outlets think of that team, but that's still, that would have been 6-10 last year, I think, in most things. That's not a great team. That's a rebuilding team. And it's hard to like stack up things that are happening with the Eagles and say that they're going to be appreciably better than that.
Now, it's interesting you say 7-10. Sorry, 7-10. You got to get used to that. I want to hear 6-10, 8-8, right. 7-10. Though we all got to get used to that.
Yeah, and like I actually was looking at the projections, and it was like 7.2, and I was like, 7-9, and I was ready to say 7-9. Like, that's a different thing. It's like, it's better than you thought it would be. Yes, there's an extra game.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that extra game plays out and shakes out. All right, on the projection front, if you got the Eagles at 7-10, how much of that is because of their starting quarterback, who we don't know who he is because the Eagles refuse to name him, but we all believe it's going to be Jalen Hurts. What are the early projections as per you guys number crunching for the kind of season Jalen Hurts is going to have?
We're plugging in sort of a rookie scrambler, like basic package for Jalen Hurts. A lot of times when you're doing projections and you're like, okay, they're going to be starting a very young quarterback. Well, a lot of times it's a rookie, first round pick, second round pick. They're mobile. They're going to be running some options. You kind of have like a package and you put that in there and you say, that's what it's going to be. Not that much different for Jalen Hurts coming off a handful of starts. I know that Aaron Schatz tweaked it a little bit to reflect some of the things he did last year, good and bad. You have to look at the big plays he made. You have to look at the fumbles. You got to put that in the projection. I think when you get to 7 wins, 7-10, and I know the way we do things at Football Outsiders, it starts with veteran offensive line. And when we start putting variables together and you say, okay, Brooks is back. Apparently he's healthy. Plug that in. Kelsey's back. Apparently he's still ready to go. He's still playing at a high level. Put that in. Lane Johnson, you put that in. You put those factors in there, and that elevates you over teams like, let's say, the Cincinnati Bengals. Who are like, they're throwing guys in there at the offensive line. So that's one of the reasons. And that's one of the reasons for optimism for Hurts, obviously, because a lot of times a young quarterback gets put behind a garbage line. The one thing the Eagles don't appear to have, while everyone's healthy, is a bad offensive line.
Mike, it's interesting you talk about evaluation, projections. How do you project a Green Bay Packers team? Or do you just do it two ways? You put Aaron Rodgers in, you take them out, because I think it's really different in each category.
That's what we do at Football Outsiders. Now, I think in the case of Aaron Rodgers, we have him put in, and when we talk to people, it's with him put in.
Yeah.
And then we have, I know in the back pocket, we have a projection with him taken out. And it's not just a projection for the Packers. It's one for the Bears. It's one for every opponent. It's one for the Vikings, etc. So that's how we do it. I know for a fact that right now we have a Houston Texans projection, and it is with Deshaun Watson unavailable. So it is a miserable projection. I could pull it up here very quick, and it's like 6.4 wins, I think it is.
That's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
I'll still take the under on that one. Even with him out, I'll take under 6.4.
I think I would too. I was expecting to see 2.4 when I flicked my screen up there. But if he's cleared of everything and he's happy and he comes back, that would go up, I guess, about a win, based on the fact that you're going from terrible quarterbacking to really well above average quarterbacking.
Mike, I want to ask you about a story that I don't think is getting quite enough pub, and I think it will grow when we get closer to camp and that much closer to the season. and that's the vaccinated players. The NFL has protocols in place where if you can get up to 85% of your player vaccinated, then protocols get easier and you can do more and you don't have to wear, and you can probably project that they will be more ready for the start of the season than others.
Yeah.
Some teams have already stated we're close. I don't know that there's any one team that's already said we're already at 85%, so we've accomplished what we needed to get ourselves in the best position to be able to just not have to deal with protocols.
Right.
When are we going to know more hard data, raw data on how many teams have how many players vaccinated? And do you think if we get into August that players' vaccinated status will actually have an impact on those players 48 through 56 that are on the bubble for making the roster or not making the roster? If you are or aren't vaccinated, could that actually be something that a team would look at?
Yeah, if I'm a player 40 through 90 on the roster right now, I'm double checking all of my weird sources that tell me I shouldn't get vaccinated. That is, and we're going to see where these guys are after. They couldn't have lunch with the other guys, during OTAs. They couldn't do this with the other guys in OTAs. They couldn't do that, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's going to be a motivator that some of these guys are like, oh, I'm not doing it for blah, blah, blah. They're going to hear from it and go back. I'll tell you now that the handful of players I talk to are vaccinated. They're also the handful of players that will actually talk to me during the off season, we'll be chit-chatting. So it might be a different type of guy than a guy who's like, oh, I'm an anti-vaxxer for A, B, C, D, A. I don't know what kind of hard data is going to become available. I don't know if the Players Association policy is on this in terms of a privacy issue. Yeah. Because I know the Players Association, once everybody vaccinated, will encourage everybody. Will at the same time go to the other side and say, it's your right to choose and it's your right for nobody to know what you did or not. So that will create a weird rift along the way. Bottom line is, I think it's going to absolutely be a factor. The moment you have 7 guys competing for 2 roster spots on the back of the roster, and somebody has a risk of popping a positive and still wearing a wearable tech thing and saying, oh, I was exposed to a positive, I'm gone for 2 weeks, that's going to be a major, major carrot for these guys. And I think that will eventually push the NFL over the limit.
Yeah, Mike, Buffalo's kind of been the genesis of this because I think it was Brandon, not Sean, came out and said, yeah, I'd consider cutting a guy if what you just explained might happen if you have a vaccinated guy versus an unvaccinated guy. Now, because of that, the players are getting inundated with questions around the bills, and they're not answering them. Right. So there is a privacy concern. There is a union concern. The union's always obviously going to fight for the rights of players.
Right.
So how difficult is this for the league to say, we understand what Brandon Beane's saying. We agree with what Brandon Beane is saying, but you can't say what Brandon Beane is saying. How do you legislate that?
And that's tricky. And I think they do it with these sort of clever little levers and dials and saying, we're not going to formally reprimand Brandon Beane. We're going to let it go quietly. And Josh Allen, the quarterback, sounds like he's kind of anti-vaxxer. Yeah. And
they're not cutting him.
Cole Beasley was chirping at all of us for an hour or two on about anti-vaxxer and everything. So on one hand, that's going to come out in the wash in Buffalo. If that's the battle happening there. I'll tell you this, I was union leadership for years in the Teachers Association. And I used to say, there's problems you run to and there's problems you walk to. You run to save this person from this problem, and then you slowly walk because this person kind of dug their own grave, so to speak. Bad choice of words. But I think that's what the NFL is looking at right now. They want a certain thing. So they're going to put the protocols in, and they have the medical and legal force to say, yeah, you can't eat with the other guys. Yeah, you still have to be virtual. Yeah, you still have to wear wearable tech where we're checking your contact when you're not vaccinated. They're going to do all that. All the other stuff, they'll kind of let it play out before they start going in and possibly a hornet's nest in terms of privacy or union situations.
Mike, why don't you take on this one? On my national radio show this weekend, I sung the praises of LeBron James and Patrick Mahomes because they set the bar high. Mm-hmm. LeBron James said, all right, we don't have Anthony Davis. I got these big shoulders. I can take it on. We'll be, oops.
Yeah.
Leg is around. And Patrick Mahomes said, there's only one record I care about this year, and that's 20-0. Yeah. I want to be the first quarterback to ever lead a team to 20-0.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. But I like your bravado, Patrick. Good for you that you are setting the bar that high.
Right.
How impossible is that going 20-0? We know there's an added game, which makes it more difficult for everybody.
Right.
But the Chiefs are right there with the Broncos. I think we're going to see more predictions of same two teams in the Super Bowl than we have in a long time coming into the season. Has Mahomes got any kind of shot to make something like that happen?
If the 2007 Patriots could not go 20-0, then that just tells you everything you know about how hard it is. And I don't think that as great as this Chiefs team is, they're as great as that team was just going around stomping people. But those teams were similar, by the way. And as last season played on, the Chiefs got more and more banged up. They got more and more beatable, and it came up in the Super Bowl. If you remember 2007, all the games where the Patriots won like 56-3 or whatever early in the season. Then you lose a guy or two. They figure out how to defend it. Oh, Randy Moss, make sure you got 3 guys on him, make the other guys beat you. And it got to the point where, the Giants kind of get lucky there. So you talk about the predictions, though. I mean, it's hard to predict anybody but the Chiefs coming out of the AFC.
Yeah, there is that constant, Mike, where the Chiefs are considered the best team. Obviously, but why? Tampa Bay, we'll see. Age comes into it at some point. Father Time's got to catch up.
Yeah,
with Tom Brady, we don't know when that will be, but I want to hear a potential surprise. I don't know what team is out there that maybe people don't say, oh, this is a legitimate Super Bowl contender, but if so and so happens, maybe they can get in that conversation.
Well, Eagles fans, our number 3 rank, our 3 top ranked teams at Football Outsiders in terms of wins in the coming season are the Buccaneers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, not happening.
I come from Reggie's looking over my shoulder. I come from a skepticism here, and yet I'm required to go through the numbers. I'm writing the chapter for the Cowboys this year. You get Prescott back. You get their offense. Their entire offensive line was destroyed by Andrew last year. You get him back. And their defense goes from literally we didn't even listen to the coach. And that's kind of where they were last year. Literally, we're not even listening to the defensive coordinator, Nolan, to, we're going to play a little bit. Factor in the fact that the Giants are going to stink. Eagles are going to be struggling a little bit. You get a team that's going to win 10, 11, 12 games. And now you're in a division. You're in a conference where we don't know about Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, if he's fine, that's a team that you worry about. Yeah. Buccaneers are obviously, I mentioned them just now. They're a team to beat. Father Time and the injuries. They had the best luck in terms of injuries. The entire offensive line was healthy. The entire defense was healthy. And there's some older guys there, not just Brady. There's older guys on that defense as well. They get a regular injury season. They could be a wild card team. So put all those things together. Cowboys could be the team. They always shoot themselves in the foot. But
that is true. But that skill position talent is pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive. And as Mike mentioned, Zach Martin, Teron Smith, if those guys are healthy, that's what we talk about in Philadelphia. If Lane Johnson's healthy, if Brandon Brooks is healthy, guess what? They got Zach Martin and Teron Smith. They're pretty good too.
Right. Possible Hall of Famer, I think, in Martin, a great player, and Smith. They have Lyle Collins, who's a very good ball player on the right side. He was hurt last year. And if all those guys are healthy, it's Dak Prescott throwing to CeeDee Lamb, throwing to Amari Cooper, throwing to Gallup, Ezekiel in the backfield. So it's not question marks out there. The only question mark was, would there be a quarterback alive to get them the ball? It looks like there will be because Prescott is healthy and the guys blocking for him look like right now they're healthy.
And we don't believe Ben DiNucci's going to take a snap this year, which was advantageous for the Eagles last year. I'll give you a team that I'm thinking about. Since John asked a question to you, I'll give you half an answer. Instead, I'll pose it as a question to you. As of right now, Mike, yours and or Football Outsiders rankings, you want to converge the two, feel free. What's your outlook on the NFC West right now? The 4 teams in the NFC West, which I think is going to be a very exciting division this year. How would you rank them? How would you rate them, the teams of the NFC West?
Well, I'm looking at our ratings right now at Football Outsiders. We got Seattle number 1 as winning the division. We have the Rams second. We have the Cardinals third. Oh, no, we have the 49ers second. Hold the phone here. I am as surprised as you are, followed by the Rams, followed by the Cardinals. I look at the Seahawks, and I think we've been watching the Seahawks team for years. It's how far will Russell Wilson take them? That's the story every year. Got the talent around them. Looks like they've added some pieces on defense. I was surprised by that 49ers projection as well. But if we remember, you talk about injuries last year. Eagles last couple of years have had those injuries. 49ers have a ridiculous amount of injuries. Their quarterback, Garoppolo, he's obviously getting replaced this year. But all those great defenders that took them to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, so many of them were hurt last year. Injuries all over the receiving core. You put that roster together, and you put, whether it's Trey Lance or, Garoppolo wins the job for a couple of weeks and he's a little bit more, he's playing lights out because he's trying to save his job. You put that together, you got a 49ers team that can win. I don't know what to say about the Rams. I don't believe in the Matthew Stafford Rams in any real way. I watched Matthew Stafford go 9-7 at best for years with the Lions, but now he's suddenly going to lead the Rams someplace. I don't see it. And somebody on the internet calls the Cardinals the island of misfit toys. And I love that because that's the place you got your really tiny quarterback, you got him. You've got all your safeties who are really linebackers, who are really cornerbacks. They're all there. You got J.J. Watt at the end of his career, A.J. Green at the end of his career. They're all there. So it's like all these spare parts putting together. And I don't know how Cliff Kingsbury is going to put them together.
That's my team. Oh, by the way, that's my team.
Really?
I'm on the island of misfits toys. I'm glad to hear you're picking them for it. I actually think they can win that division. Shoot, I think they can win the NFC because if you're going to try and pick against the chalk, I'd rather take my shot against the Bucs than against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are more rooted as the top team in the AFC than the Bucs are in the NFC. So if you're going to take a rank outsider, give me the Cardinals. You probably should get 25 or 30 to 1 just to win the AFC this year if they're no better than fourth. NFC this year if they're no better than fourth in their division. I think the misfit toys all come together, and the Cardinals are going to be damn good.
I have to look at their over-under and see what the win over-under is and see if there's any meat on that bone. But, Football Outsider is not a sanguine, but you can put that conversation together, obviously, when you look at, the pieces and say, what if they fit?
Mike, I want to stick in the NFC West, go to the 49ers, because we've been talking about the quarterbacks. It's obvious what kind of impact Aaron Rodgers will have on the Packers if he's there or if he's not there. One guy that got hurt early last season, and if you think about the 49ers run to the Super Bowl and what Nick Bosa meant to that team.
Yeah.
When you talk about position players, and this could be Julio Jones, guys on the market, Danielle Hunter in Minnesota. Look at that defense with Danielle Hunter. He got hurt. He wasn't there. Look at that defense without him.
Right.
How much impact can a position player that's that dominant as a Nick Bosa was in his rookie season have on a team when you guys are crunching the numbers?
It can have a lot. Now, nobody has more impact than a quarterback, obviously. And, when I talk about a quarterback, I might say a win in the standings. Remember, there's only 17 games. Yeah. So, again, that's 3 losses. Well, it can't be 3 losses for one guy because then, no team would ever win with a backup quarterback. Nick Foles would never have happened. But when you look especially at edge rushers and the overall pass rush, that can have a huge impact because that really dictates going back to the back 7 there. So a guy like Bosa, and I think there were multiple injuries along that defensive front. It wasn't just Bosa. And they lost Buckner to free agency there. That changes the whole dynamic. And I think what happens with our projection for the 49ers is, and again, they was a Super Bowl team 2 years ago. This isn't hard to justify, but if you plug in ordinary quarterbacking for the team, what do they do? The teams with the outstanding pass rushes that tend to go from year to year, you can rely on the pass rush to be great for several years in a row. They're going to be playoff teams with an ordinary quarterback. Maybe not with a subordinary quarterback, but with an ordinary one. Okay. And then when you factor in, well, in the past, what has this coach done with subpar quarterbacking? And you've seen obviously Kyle Shanahan's system. That's like, oh yeah, you toss the ball to the tight end and he gets yak for you. You toss the ball to Deebo Samuel, he gets yak. You put all that stuff in and those guys can rise up. So position players can have an impact, and it's usually shut down corners who are rare. You don't get those anymore. And those edge rushers who are the guys who can really suddenly change the whole personality of a team.
Mike, 6 NFL teams have new coaches this year, and we here in Philadelphia are one of those 6, either by your rankings or your evaluation. Which is going to be the most interesting and the guy who actually is able to get his team to step up and be improved from last year? Which coach is most likely of the 6 newbies?
I'm glad you said most interesting. We all know Urban Meyer's the most interesting. And he has been nothing but interesting so far. But interesting is not always good. In fact, it's often not good. No, you'll sometimes want a nice, boring head coach. I think Robert Saleh with the Jets and his staff there has the combination that they can take a team that is very bad right now and improve them and kind of set the tone. Kind of do what the Bills did a couple of years ago with McDermott, where you're not like catching fire with the Jets because they still need a year to rebuild, but they don't go out there and be this team that steps on a rake every week like they've done in years past. And, that's a team that I think can be much improved and is going to hit the ground and maybe get that culture. And, after Chip Kelly, we don't like talking about the culture. The Jets could use a culture. Adam Gase was like a culture in a petri dish. You need a real culture. Dan Campbell's also a lot of fun, and I kind of like ripping on Dan Campbell because he talks like a caveman.
I love Dan Campbell. Yeah. I love him. I don't know if he can coach, but I love him from just a journalism perspective. He's interesting. As you said, interesting isn't necessarily good, but it is interesting. I love him.
He gives you a quote. He gives you a real quote here, and he'll talk for real about some subject. The staff is great. I think Anthony Lynn is a very good coordinator. They got Phipp over there, Dave Phipp coaching special teams. So he's put together a very good staff, and never underestimate the value of that. We talk about the head coach, going down the position coaches and all. I think that's what helped Doug Peterson's staff be really, really good when it was good. And I think that could really help Dan Campbell.
And they got our boy Deuce up there in Detroit too, which we'll be rooting for Deuce.
Yes.
Speaking of Deuce, there are some interesting stories. One of them, the concussion settlement. You see, by the way, you see the union come out, Mike, with this Toradol statement, and I think everybody jumped to the conclusion that, nobody's going to use Toradol anymore. You guys are going to miss games. They urged him to limit Toradol use. Are these meaningful things when the NFLPA comes out with a statement that says, guys, limit Toradol use? Or is it everybody's just going to go back to normal?
It would be more useful if they gave a limit number, like limit it to this many milligrams a year or something like that. And it's also got like all this stuff. I don't know that particularly because it is a medical thing. It had to be collective bargaining. The collective bargaining was last year. All right. So, and I go back to the OTAs. Like, we're having a thing about OTAs. The time for that conversation was last February before the vote, because I know I've been watching the NFLPA for years and the NFL owners, and if it don't cost the owners any money, they will just shovel it in. They will shovel it into any contract you add, and then it's like, 0.1% of the salary cap, that's what we fight over. So they could have shoveled in no OTAs. They could have shoveled in, here's our list of painkillers that we agree to. And the owners have been like, yep, don't cost us no money. Yep, don't cost us no money. They didn't do that. The rear guard action here, I don't know how effective it is. It does send a signal to the players. They have relaxed the rules on medical cannabis, which creates an alternative painkiller. So there are some things that are getting done there. But that's not particularly phenomenal. And the whole thing with the concussion settlement and the racial element of that is I am not going to let the NFL off the hook here. But there's a problem in the entire testing industry. I come from teaching. Just about any test you have has a weird racial bias in it. So that does not let the NFL off the hook here. But this has been systematic for decades that, we're doing some kind of neurological cognitive thing. And guess what? It's taking people of different races and it's evaluating them in different ways. And I think that's some of this is a residue of that.
Mike, last thing for me, and this kind of ties into relation between the players and the union and the collective bargaining and on the fringes. The term used in the NBA is load management.
Oh, gosh.
And it always gets my fingernail scratching on the board, and I can't stand. But it's an acknowledgement of, we ask you to do a lot. We're going to agree on certain games, certain times of game. You guys are going to come out, even though it might not look like we're putting forth our best effort to win. The NFL is adding one game. It's one game.
Right.
When you think of the fact that they only play 16, one game is a decent little percentage side.
Right.
Are we going to hear that phrase thrown about or something equivalent to it in football terms where players are actually not used, could be not activated, could be pulled early? Will there be load management in the NFL this year?
They will not use that word, but it's already here. Oh, Fletcher Cox didn't play the last series, and then 2 series later, he doesn't play that series. No, there's already load management. They don't just miss games like they do in the NBA. There's only 17 games, not 80. You're not going to miss a game unless it's like the week 18, everybody's resting type of thing. So it's already there. There's a degree to which the sports science backs it up to say if you want to be ready for January, you don't want to necessarily crush people in September. I don't think we're going to see it as such. I don't like it in the NBA for a couple of reasons. It's because when you buy that ticket to that game, you're especially when you're the weak team and the other team's coming in, you're there to see that guy, that road player, and then that's his load day. I think that's ridiculous. I think if we played 15 minutes or something, that would be better. But we're already seeing things like that in the NFL. We'll continue to see it. I think the big argument is not going to be in game. It's going to be this time of year. I think load management is going to start with the battle we're seeing right now is what do OTAs look like.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mike. That's what the OTAs are, is load management now. And I want to take that forward because JC Treader said, hey, the product is better than ever with less preparation. Do you agree with that? Do you agree the product was better than ever with less prep in the COVID-19 world?
I didn't see any difference in the games last year. I thought they were exciting. I didn't notice, this is clearly rusty players who didn't have a preseason. Things like that. It looked like the injuries were down. I think part of that was it was clear that the officials were calling fewer holding penalties and a few other things. So you have to look at the variables. I'm going to be a Football Outsiders guy. Well, what were the variables? Well, one was there was no preseason. One was that they weren't calling holding as much and the games were peppier, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to take that into account. I would be worried to say, well, 2020 proves that we don't need any practice anymore. I think that's kind of silly. I think a union president can take that stance when he's trying to get a concession along the way. But I think in real life, it does show we can eliminate a few of these things. We could definitely eliminate 1 preseason game. We could probably eliminate 2, maybe 3. OTAs can be individual drills. We do not need, you and I need 7-on-7s to talk about stuff, but the players I don't think need 7-on-7s in OTAs. And I think a lot of this stuff, they can open the box a little bit and take some things out and make the players better in December and January potentially as a result.
You can read him in the New York Times. You can see his work on footballoutsiders.com. We enjoyed chatting him up today. We're going to do so again before the season gets underway. Mike, thank you much for hopping on with us. Have a good football Friday, bud. We'll get back to you.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your summer.
Thanks, Mike Tanier here with us on Birds 365. All right, couple minutes, come back. We'll put a bow on the show, and then we'll let McMullen get out on the grass. Eagle practice today. We'll come back and wrap this bad boy up here on Birds 365.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Coming down the home stretch of a Birds 365 Football Friday with your Mac and Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald. Know you're off to practice, John. Nice to get on the grass, and you're looking forward to it. Now, will you take a roster with you? Do you have a little cheat sheet, or are you that good, that assimilated, that you know exactly every single number for every single guy that's out there on the grass with you?
No, they give us rosters, Jody.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the new players, especially with off-season rosters, 90, and especially you're not allowed in the locker room. So half of these guys you've never seen before until the first practice. You know,
Right.
It's interesting. I forget what team. I think it was Houston, which brought, of course, a Bill Belichick sort of mentality where nobody was wearing numbers, so nobody knew who the hell anybody was. And some of the Houston reporters were like, what the heck is this? Because, you know, it serves no purpose. But when you got 90 people out there, yeah, you need numbers, Jody. You need numbers, no question about it.
Right.
And by the way, I haven't mentioned all show. It's at Lincoln Financial Field today, too. So they're going to be in the big house today.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Last time they had about 95% attendance. Some of the veteran guys, the star level players on this team didn't show. Do you know ahead of time what guys you should expect not to be there, or will you go there, get out the pen, and start checking names off who is or isn't the show?
That's what you do. You got the pen, you got the roster, you start checking, Jody, to see who's up and who isn't. You know, it's interesting, guys who weren't there, you know, Darius Slay, for instance, he's in town. The last time we were there, he didn't practice. A lot of times you just give veterans a day off, and they're there when a day we're not there, and maybe it's their time. We just talked about load management. Brandon Graham, a Fletcher Cox, somebody coming back from an injury like Brandon Brooks, you might just give them a day off, and that's why they're not practicing. But yeah, you just check the numbers and see who's there, see who isn't.
And it's good to just be around the team and see what kind of attitude they're carrying. We've got a couple guests this week. We've asked them about the players singing the praises of their new head coach. No one should be surprised by that, because that's what players do. It's early enough. The marriage is young enough that all the players are going to like their new head coach. There might be one or two that were really dedicated to Doug Peterson that are probably wouldn't like anybody who came in and replaced him. But most of them get over that pretty quickly, and they get used to their new coach. So, yeah, you're going to get guys that are mostly in a good mood today. I need you to do me a favor. Send my regards to Greg Ward. I just feel the need to let Greg Ward know that the president of his fan club is out here pulling for him.
Well, I will say this. Greg Ward right now is last time I was there, actually, it was Travis Fulgham. But we talked about competition. Greg Ward is in one of those competition positions. And by competition, I mean the third receiver spot.
Right.
Because Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor are going to play, barring injury. And then the Eagles are looking for that third receiver. Last time I was there, Travis Fulgham was the guy. And you can go about it different ways. Travis is going to play outside most of the time. That kicks Jalen Reagor in the slot. If Greg Ward proves to be the best player, he'll be in the slot. Jalen will be outside. So a lot of different ways you can go about it. But he's still in the competition. And until he's not,
I plan on him winning the competition because I think he's that good.
The Eagles do not want him to win the competition. That's how I describe
it. At some point, Howie Roseman's going to reach out to you and tell you to stop saying that the Eagles don't want him to win the competition. Howie, I know Howie respects you, but I don't think he wants you talking for him.
Believe me, I get reached out plenty. And they don't want him to win the competition.
So you're saying it's not just Howie; it's other sources are telling you.
Well, I've said pretty consistently they want to get more athletic on the field. They want to get more speed on the field. Doesn't mean you can, Jody. Doesn't mean you can. They've been trying to get better. They've been trying to go to other players, but they haven't been able to. So that's what you hang your hat on.
I like athleticism. Athleticism is a very good trait to have. You know what I like better than athleticism? Production. That wins games more so than athleticism. Some of the greatest athletes couldn't play a lick.
Jody, it's easy to look in the rearview mirror. The trick is to look in the front mirror and say what's going to happen. That's the hard part. Right. The hard part is looking forward, not looking back. The Eagles want to get better. The Eagles want to get better. That's the easiest way to explain it.
Looking into my crystal ball, I'm predicting improvement from Greg Ward this year. Better player, better athleticism, better numbers. That's how big he's going to step up for the Eagles this year, despite the organization rooting against him as per John McMullen.
I'm not rooting against him. By the way,
the organization rooting against him as per you.
You're not rooting against them. They're trying to get better. They're trying to get. It's like anything else. Why do you draft Devontae Smith? You're trying to get better. Why do you draft Landon Dickerson? You want to try to get better. That Devontae Smith alone, in theory, would create more traffic. So you're talking about volume. Devontae Smith's numbers should make Greg Ward's numbers less. And you like Devontae.
I do, but you know the big number that Greg Ward's got to improve. The one that I just can't continue to fight off is his average yards per catch. He's got to be better in that.
Wow.
His overall numbers, his number of receptions will come down. His number of touchdowns will come down. His yards per reception must go up. Because if the number of catches comes down and the number of touchdowns come down and it's the still minuscule yards per catch, he's not going to be around. He's not going to be on the field.
One of my late season press box jokes last year was we were going to get the first 7-catch, 28-yard, 2-touchdown game in history from Greg Ward.
Yeah, you're still taking shots. I know. Just do me a favor. Tell Mr. Ward, the president of his fan club, sends his regards. Buddy, have a good day out there on the grass. I say we try this again next week. You up for it?
I'm up for it. We'll do it. We got a little rest. I gotta recharge the batteries, and I'll have some grass time to talk about.
I got to win some money on the Belmont Stakes this weekend, but then I'll be in a good mood. Oh, by the way, exclusive quality. In case you want to know, exclusive quality over Rombauer. You're winning exactly in this weekend.
There we go. Free money. Free money.
You're going to practice. I'm going to put my wagers in on the Belmont Stakes. But we will be once again, Mac and Mac, reunited on Birds 365 on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube,